morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a look at all of the Rotom. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. There are 4 Rotom coming along, and we do need to look at them as a 4 because they are very much a quadruplet. There we go. That's the word for 4 of them. There's 4 of them coming, and we need to have a little bit of a look. Now, if we start off having a look at the basics, they're all very much the same. We've got 70 HP, which is extremely low, but it does open the door to use Level Ball to go and search them out, which is quite nice. We have got ourselves Free Retreat, which incidentally is awesome. I love having Free Retreat. Also, right, we've got 4, and they're all different types, and okay, well, that's a lie, actually. But there's 3 different types, one of which is colorless, but that's not the point. We can hit water and fire weakness here. So we can at least hit some different weaknesses and retreat between them, which is pretty gosh darn cool. And they've all got the expected weakness, but we're not going to worry too much about the weakness here because honestly, they've got 70 HP. We are expecting them all to fall very quickly. It means if something is hitting them for 30 damage, and to be fair, one of them's weak to metal and Duraludon does 30, so you would survive a hit from Duraludon, but that's about the only situation in which they end up getting saved. Most of the time here, they're going to have 70 HP, and it really doesn't matter. They're just going to get KO'd. The other thing that they all have in common is the same ability, Forecast. If you have 8 or more Stadium cards in your discard pile, ignore all energy in this Pokemon's attack costs. So essentially, any of these can actually attack for free as soon as 8 or more Stadium cards hit your discard pile. So the goal here has got to be extremely simple. Let's just mash as many supporter cards in our discard pile as we can, as fast as we can. And the good news is at the moment we got plenty of ways to discard cards. Obviously, like every deck at the moment is playing a full 4 copies of Quick Ball, pretty much all of them. That's going to be good for discarding. We've got stuff like Professor's Research, discard your hand, draw 7, that will help. One of my favourite tricks here, and it is rotating shortly after this set comes out, but the Duskull from Cosmic Eclipse lets you discard 3 cards from your hand and then search for a Pokemon that evolves from it and evolve it. But if you just play Duskull, it's just discard 3 cards from your hand. But we've actually got a better option nowadays, because don't forget I showed you the other day the new Galarian Articuno. And that's got a rather awesome ability that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand and draw a card. And when we looked at Galarian Articuno, I told you that any time we are looking at a card which wants to fill the discard pile, wants to discard particular cards, this is going to be awesome. Well, good news, ladies and gentlemen. We want to fill the discard pile. This card is awesome. This is a very nice thing indeed. So I really do think that if you're trying to take advantage of this particular ability, you have got to be going Galarian Articuno. Bearing in mind, Galarian Articuno is not limited to once during your turn, so you can have 2 or 3 of them out and use this 2 or 3 times during your turn, which is clearly a wonderful thing. That is going to help you get your Stadium cards in the discard pile very quickly indeed. Obviously, it does open up a lot of options. You know, you can play whatever Stadiums you like, and you can have a little bit of fun with them. I suppose at this stage, we should probably remind ourselves that we've seen a very similar thing to this before, with all of them their Rotom. Like the Rotom from Ultra Prism, this was 9 or more tool cards in your discard pile, and you got to attack for free. The thing is, when you're looking at things like tools, you've got like Air Balloon, which gives you free retreat, or largely, obviously not relevant here, just an example, because you've all got free retreat. You got stuff like Vitality Band to do extra damage. A lot of tools you're going to naturally want to play anyway. There aren't really any decks out there that are playing like 8 Stadiums. Some decks are going to want to play their Stadiums, and that's lovely, but you are essentially, if you're playing these cards, going to be padding your deck full of Stadiums. You're going to be going a little bit overboard, but that is going to give you a lot of options. Now, how about things like Sir Chester Bath? Well, that's going to mean that basic Pokemon take 20 less from attacks. Okay, fine, you got 70 HP. These aren't exactly powerhouse cards, but it still means you take less damage, and it's still a useful supporter card that you might end up wanting to put in your deck and taking advantage of. Maybe you play Spikemuth so that when your opponent switches, they have to take a bit of damage. Now, you do as well, but my theory here with Spikemuth is really simple. Mate, I've got 70 HP. I'm probably getting one hit KO'd anyway, so you know what? I don't care about taking the damage, but you probably care a lot more. Maybe something like Rose Tower lets you draw until you got 3 cards in your hand, and this obviously would pair really nicely with something like Galarian Articuno, where your hand size is being lowered every time you use it. Use Rose Tower to draw back up again. That could be kind of fun. And I do think, incidentally, they are my top choices for stadiums you want to play. A lot of the other ones, they don't necessarily really work that well, unfortunately. You know, like Training Court lets you get a basic energy back, but we're literally playing stadiums so that we don't have to play energy. Why would we want to play Training Court? So, I mean, for me, Rose Tower and Spikemuth and Sir Chester Bath, I think, are the best options. And when I say best options, I mean best Sword and Shield on. I'm not looking pre-rotation, because rotation happens shortly after this comes out. But obviously, any stadium that comes out in the future will be able to take advantage of this. Yay! Now, we should probably actually talk about what they do, shouldn't we? Obviously, our translations here come from the lovely Antoine Boulet. We are Antoine Boulet fans. Why would we not be? And let's just go through them one by one and see what we've got. So we've got the colorless Castform, regular Castform, and what we see here is 3 colorless energy, 80 damage, draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand. Now, obviously, we're expecting these all to be free. And this attack is really simple, right? This is the, you know what? I'm going to get a KO attack. I think I'm going to get a KO here, or I know I'm going to get a KO. So what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be doing 80 damage and then drawing a bunch of cards. So essentially I'm getting a KO while drawing cards, getting a KO while drawing cards. If I'm against little Pokemon, things like Galarian Zigzagoon or evolving Pokemon or things of that nature, yes, I know Galarian Zigzagoon's an evolving Pokemon, but it's not always played as such. In fact, it's usually not played as such. So essentially here, you'll be in a good position, taking out little Pokemon, finishing them off, getting KOs while drawing cards. Love it. You're not hitting weakness, you're not hitting big damage, but you are hopefully getting KOs and drawing till you got 6 cards at the same time. Kind of like a weird reverse lucky egg, and I am all the way into that, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds fun to me. Moving over into Castform Sunny Form, we've got Fire Colorless. But again, it's really just nothing. 150 damage, discard a stadium in play. If you can't, this attack fails. Now, maybe this gets awkward, but bearing in mind, you're not going to be playing 8 stadiums, you're going to be playing 12 or more. So you bin them into the discard as fast as you can, and then at that stage, you should still hopefully have a couple left over, and either you've got a stadium in play, or your opponent discards your stadium with their stadium, and then there is still a stadium in play. Which kind of sounds good to me. Obviously, if you discard a stadium, your opponent might not play one and then you could run out. But you're doing 150 damage. That's getting a KO on the vast majority of single prize Pokemon, as well as metal Pokemon that are weak. Think things like Zacian, maybe. And grass Pokemon that are weak. Think things like Zarude, maybe. So the fact that you're doing a decent amount of damage while getting a KO, well, basically hitting for weakness on 2 different typings here, I am a fan of this Castform Sunny Form. I'd like an attack that does more damage, but you're talking about a 70 HP basic Pokemon that's attacking for free. I think 150 is pretty good. Plus, it doesn't really matter if you're 2-hit KOing, because you're only giving up 1 prize. We've got Castform Rainy Form here. And what we got here, like, we're built, obviously, just like we saw with Rotom, we're building up a nice little toolbox here. So what we've got is 2 energy, but really 0 energy, 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And for people that have been playing a little while, and, well, I'm going to mention Tapu Koko, right? Because that did 20 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. But it makes me feel weird that I'm referring to Tapu Koko as a card that rotated ages ago that you might remember if you've been playing a while. That card came out years into my playing career, and frankly, I feel a little bit old. But this is a nice bit of spread damage, and obviously the plan here is you spread a little bit with Castform, Rainy Form, and then hopefully everyone is in range. So you might want to do a little bit more damage with the Sunny Form. Well, you kind of are here because you're spreading around with Rainy Form before you get going. And then finally, we've got Castform, Snowy Form. Free energy, but really 0 energy. 120 damage. And you cannot use this attack during your next turn. But bearing in mind, right, all these Castform have free retreat. So, you can't use it next turn. Just bench a second one and retreat into it. There, done. Sorted. And this is your standard attack. You've got your getting a KO while drawing attack, your spreading attack, your big damage attack. This is your standard attack. You don't have to discard a stadium. You just have to not use it 2 turns in a row. And as we said, there's plenty of ways around that. Mostly just retreating, if I'm honest. And 120 is fine. You'll get most basic Pokemon and you get most single prize Pokemon. But I've said this a lot. There's a big difference. One of the lines of delineation in the Pokemon TCG is 120, 130. There's a bunch of Pokemon that do 120 and a bunch that have 130 and a bunch that have 120. And the issue here is you'll get the 120s, but you'll miss the 130s, which is not what you're going for. It's not really enough damage, but then again, if you want to do more damage, you have always got the Sunny Form. And of course, you're hitting a different weakness here. So now you're hitting weakness against fire Pokemon. The thing is, it depends what you're up against. So, Centiskorch V, he gone. Centiskorch V Max, you're quite far away. Like Centiskorch V Max, with weakness you're doing 240, that's 80 damage away. Having said that, the maths actually works out really nicely, because of course, Castform, the regular version, will do 80 damage, and draw 2, you got 6 cards in your hand in the process, which is really kind of cool. So I think the maths works out nicely on that one. The fact of the matter is, if we look at these Castform as a group, there's none among them that really come out and look amazing. But we've got a nice little list of 4 attacks. Honestly, my biggest worry here with Castform is that we're going to end up in a situation where you're not quite KOing enough and you're getting KO'd every single turn. I don't know how many of you have played many little decks like this. I have, like, really often. And, yeah. It's kind of annoying at times because you just get KO'd every single turn. And if you're not getting these 2-hit KOs on multiple prize Pokemon or KOing these little Pokemon every turn, it can come back to get you. But I still want to give them as a group 4 Wassies. And in a little bit of a change in the last couple of days, I think this might be a little bit too high. I don't know if any of these attacks are quite good enough. I think they all might be a little bit too low, and combined with your low HP might hurt you too much for this to be viable. But then again, you've got free retreat on all of them and a nice suite of different attacks, and you're hitting for 3 different weaknesses. Okay, 2, but you know what I mean when I say that. You know what? That sounds pretty good to me. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.